The more Nick Krall speaks, the clearer it becomes the Cincinnati Reds front office has a complete lack of urgency when it comes to the offseason. We'll discuss on today's Locked On Reds.
You are Locked On Reds, your daily Cincinnati Reds podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into the Locked On Reds podcast. Locked On Reds is part of the Locked On Podcast Network. We are your team every day, and we want to thank you for helping make Locked On the #1 sports podcast network in the country. We appreciate you so very much. My name is Jeff. His name is Steve. We are lifelong Cincinnati Reds fans, and we've been podcasting about this team for a combined 14 seasons. We're glad that you're alongside us here today because we're going to talk a little bit about some off-season rumors. There's an interesting or intriguing, he's had a long career, and he wants to play for Terry Francona. We're going to tell you why we might not be that interested in him a little bit later on in today's show. In just a few minutes, we're hearing things like Spencer Steer isn't going to be the first baseman for this team next year. And I don't hate it. In fact, I kind of like it. I'll tell you why in just a few minutes. But we will begin with the Reds' lack of urgency as the offseason gets going on today's Locked On Reds podcast that is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new users can place a $5 wager, and if it wins, you get $300 in bonus bets. Download FanDuel today. And where we will begin, Steve, is with the fact that there's been a lot more things written coming out of the general manager meetings that happened in Las Vegas, and a lot more stuff from Nick Krall has been said, and it continues to see, number one, he's throwing all of the GM cliches out there, but number two, it just feels like they are waiting for everyone else to go get theirs, and then whatever's left on the shelf, that's when they will start shopping.
The Reds front office strategy right now really feels like it consists of just running to the store every day and seeing if there's something new in the clearance aisle. Like not checking the rest of the store, not looking at the other things, just peeking in that clearance bin, going, nope, no Shohei in there, and turning around and leaving the store. That's really what it feels like the strategy is right now.
Yeah, he said a couple of different things in an article from Gordon Whitmire over on the Inquirer. He said, quote, "We just have to figure out how to be creative and figure out what makes sense on both the free agent market and on the trade market." That sounds like every general manager that has ever run the Cincinnati Reds before every offseason of my lifetime. Like, I've never heard them come out and say, you know what, we're ready. We've talked to some guys and we're going to go. Now, there were reports that they had talked to the agents of Devin Williams. They had talked to the agents of Emilio Pagan. They've talked to the agents of Pete Alonso. They've talked to a lot of different guys, but every time he was asked about a specific player, Nick Krall would just say the thing of, we're talking to literally everyone right now. They are trying to cast a wide net to see what's going on, what everybody is offering, where they fall in the ranks of, how they can compete with those offers. So it's good to hear. Like, if you start hearing rumors right now of the Reds having interest in Pete Alonso, that is not entirely false, but it's also not saying that Pete Alonso is going to be donning a Reds uniform by the time you're carving your turkey.
Well, you have to kind of look at these things from a big picture standpoint. The Reds are interested in Pete Alonso. Well, the Reds would be interested in trading for Shohei Ohtani. The Reds would love to go out and bring in, a whole brand new power hitting outfield. They would love that. The question is, what's real? What's serious? What's feasible? What will they really do? I was excited to hear that they checked in on Devin Williams. That's exactly the right approach. We talked about this yesterday. Those are the guys they should be talking to. This team and its lack of offense should absolutely at least take the time to check in on hitters like Pete Alonso. Absolutely.
Right.
Do I think they'll sign Pete Alonso? I don't think they'll come remotely close to signing Pete Alonso. When I hear Nick Krall say things like, we have to figure out, we have to decide, we have to determine, it feels to me like a whole lot of, we're going to wait and see. We're going to wait till closer to spring training and see what's available on the clearance aisle. We're going to wait till closer to spring training and see whose stock is falling a little bit and who we might be able to get a deal on. We're going to see if there's a coupon on a power hitter come February and maybe go get that guy. That's what it feels like. And it's frustrating because they're in the competition window right now. This team just needs a few fixes to truly compete. And for them to keep just voicing the same old is really frustrating to me right now, Jeff.
Yeah, and it's something I find this intriguing. The quote that I was specifically looking at, and of course the webpage that I had like reloaded and signed me out and all this other stuff. Now I can't read the quote, so I had to find it on my phone. Nick Krall was asked specifically whenever, he was credit to Gordon Whitmire, he kind of pushed back a little bit where Nick Krall said, we got to get creative. And Gordon was like, okay, does that mean that you're going to lead more into trades than the free agent market? Like, how does that work? And Nick Krall said, quote, you get some more clarification later on in the offseason, but I think there's some other teams that are trying to do other things. And you're trying to figure out what the repercussions of what they do is as well, either free agency or their roster. If other teams are trying to do something, do they create a spot where there's a trade opportunity? Or they make a signing and the rest of the market goes one way? There's a lot of possibilities out there. Steve, does Nick Krall know that he doesn't have to wait for someone else to do their thing first? Like he could go do his thing?
I think maybe he doesn't, because that was very clearly a lot of words to say. We're going to wait and see how the market shakes out. We're going to wait and see once all the big money guys are signed, if some other team is desperate to fill a hole that we might have a trade partner with. We're going to wait and see. We're going to wait and see. We're going to wait and see. That's what all those words added up to. The Reds are going to wait and see.
And the good news for them is at least Reds Fest is in January, so they can announce the signing then. It sounds like they're going to wait till Reds Fest to make that signing or trade or whatever it might be. I don't know. Like, I'm not enthused by this. And quite frankly, Nick Krall has gone on this campaign of unenthusiasm as the offseason has really gotten going. Whether it be things that he has said directly or whether there have been articles or appearances by beat writers and things like that, where guys are just basically saying, don't get excited. This kind of sounds like when you go to the store as a kid and you know that there are toys over there, but your parents aren't going over that side of the store and you get to figure out what kind of candy bar you want. Like, honestly, the candy's all right. And maybe there's still some moves that the Reds can make to make their roster better, but I'd like to go see what else is out there. And let's see if we
lean
get
into that
good.
a little bit more. I'll lean into that a little bit more. You know, when you used to ask for things and your parents would hit you back with, we'll see. We'll see means no. Yeah. We'll see means no. And that was Nick Krall's answer. What are you going to do? Are you going to trade more? Are you going to, well, we'll see. We'll see what we're going to do.
And that's coming from the top. And that's the biggest frustration with all of this, is that they saw what they did last year and snuck on in, and we're still hearing the same things that we heard back when they were losing 80, 90, 100 games in a season. The offseason rhetoric sounds the same. And I cannot believe that that's where we are. Like, show some urgency. Tell us that there's something that's in the works. Like, maybe he's just trying to play his cards close to his vest. I hope that's the case.
I was just going to say, it doesn't feel like misdirection. It doesn't feel like, okay, we got some stuff cooking, so we're just trying to throw everybody off the scent. It doesn't feel like that. It really feels like these are the answers. These are the answers to the questions. We're going to wait and see. We're not going to do much right now. We're going to look at the market. We're going to reevaluate. We'll talk in January. Feels like the answer. It doesn't seem like they're going to drop a surprise signing on us next week.
Not only is nothing cooking, it sounds like he's saying we're going to wait till other people do the cooking and see what dishes aren't dirty and how we can make what we need to make with what's not dirty. Like,
no, he's hoping someone brings him a leftover plate. He's so hoping that somebody,
or he's going to DoorDash something. I don't know. Like, it's
over.
See, it always comes back to food. It always comes back to food.
I don't know if you saw yesterday. I wish I could remember who posted it, just to give them credit. But somebody put a comment about you yesterday on the YouTube feed that was like the 3 F's. The third F stands for food with you. And that seems to be pretty on brand. But listen, Jeff, as much as the Reds front office lacks a sense of urgency on going and getting new players, getting more players, we do have a little bit of clarity with how this organization views 2026 for Spencer Steer. We're going to be talking about Spencer Steer returning to his role of super utility coming up next.
Plenty of great sporting events are made better by FanDuel. You got to check them out today. They got this new offer for new users. If you place a $5 wager and it wins, you get $300 in bonus bets. Those odds are crazy. And you could look at the Bengals this Sunday if you want to torture yourself. They're 5.5-point underdogs as they head into Pittsburgh with all of the injuries and all of the problems and who knows how much. I don't know that I'm touching the point spread, but the over-unders at 49.5, I say smash that over. I don't think either one of these defenses knows how to stop anybody. And so whatever happens, it's going to be high scoring. I'm hitting the over on FanDuel. 49.5 for the Bengals and Steelers, and you should too. So head on over to FanDuel right now. Download that app. Place a $5 wager for your first $5 wager, and if it wins, you get $300 in bonus bets. Download FanDuel today.
Make sure you have clicked that subscribe button, whether you're on an audio feed or you're watching us here on YouTube. Click subscribe. That way you don't miss any of the great off-season content we've got coming your way. We're going to be here all off-season long, reviewing all of the things that the Reds did in 2025 and getting you ready for 2026. Make sure you're subscribed. Click that notification bell in case we go live. You don't want to miss that. All right. Moving on from that bad ad read, let's talk a little bit about Spencer Steer, because Spencer Steer really did a great job defensively at first base. He was probably the best option all season long at first base. But the Reds are talking about heading into 2026 with Spencer Steer, not Spencer Steer, the first baseman, but Spencer Steer, the super utility. They're talking about he's going to play second base. They're going to get him back into left field at times. I like this role for Spencer Steer. He likes moving around. He said he likes moving around. Defensively, second base, he says, is his best position. It'll be interesting to see if Matt McLain makes himself so valuable that they don't want to move him off of second base, and that could change the plans a little bit. But I like the idea of Spencer Steer going back to that role. But what it means, Jeff, is somebody else has to play first base. And that somebody else might not be on the roster right now. It's not going to be Pete Alonso. Settle down. But he might not be on the roster right now. It means they're looking long-term at Ke'Bryan Hayes being at third base. Probably you're thinking Sal Stewart then over at first base if Ke'Bryan Hayes is playing third, and Spencer Steer moving around getting his at-bats that way.
Before the National League adopted the designated hitter, first base was the position that you put your guys that weren't that great defensively. For the most part, there were a couple of exceptions there, but you wanted a good bat there that you could stomach his glove not being all that great. Spencer Steer's kind of the opposite, where it's like his glove's amazing, but if you were to push him there to first base full time, his bat is not good enough to be a first baseman. His bat is great as a super utility player. If you compare him, and I did this for an article that will be coming out here soon for Cincinnati Reds Talk on SI. But if you compare his bat to the guys who finished as the finalists for the super utility Gold Glove, he is better than all of them, all six, American League, National League, and that includes Ernie Clement, who you might remember that name because he set the record for most hits in a postseason. Now, over the course of the regular season, Spencer Steer had a better bat than he did. He had a better OPS, and he looked a lot better at the plate. So if you have that guy who is moving around, providing you the value of somebody who can play multiple positions, then that bet makes a lot more sense. But if you compare him to first baseman, Spencer Steer is 10th on the list in OPS for first baseman with more than 450 at bats. The guy who was 9th was 40 points higher than him on the OPS scale. And that was Wilson Contreras with the Cardinals, to say nothing of the guys up in the middle like the Matt Olsons of the world, who were almost 100 points higher than him. And then, of course, Nick Kurtz, whose OPS was almost 1,000. So Spencer Steer just doesn't quite have the power in his bat to stack up to a regular first baseman, but he makes a lot of sense as a super utility. And the reason that we're talking about this, Steve, is that Brad Metter told Charlie Goldsmith at the general manager meetings this last week. Brad Metter said, quote, "We've talked a bit about Spencer being able to move back to the outfield a little bit more, maybe more around second base as well. That's something he likes to do. He enjoys doing it," unquote.
And Spencer Steer, that's been his message consistently since he was in the minor leagues. That's when I sat down with him and he said he likes to move around. He likes to play the multiple positions. I think getting him back in that role would be good for him. And you're right. His bat in that role, if he continues to give you 20 or more home runs in that role, if he can get his OPS plus back above 100, his 2023 season in 156 games, his OPS plus was 117. But the next 2 years after that, 96 in 2024, 94 last season in 2025. Now, caveat, he spent a lot of that year dealing with that shoulder, and especially the beginning of that year dealing with that shoulder. I really hope for a healthy Spencer Steer next year to kind of see who he really is. I'm not sure if he's really this guy that's going to give you an OPS of 721, 723, or is he a guy that can give you an OPS of 800 or above? If he's that guy when he's healthy, then maybe we revisit this conversation a little bit. But either way, as a super utility with numbers like that, you can't go wrong. And I just look forward to an offensive rebound to go along with the good defense that he has provided, no matter where he plays for the most part. Outfield's a little suspect at times, but anywhere on the infield, I'm not worried about his glove.
This is why, and we say this going into every year, I think Spencer Steer is one of the guys that we are the most optimistic about in our outlooks going into each year because of 2023. In 2023, in 156 games, he had a slash line of 271 batting average, 356 on base, 464 slugging. If you told me that's what he was giving you next year, sign me up for however many at-bats you can give him, because that is exactly what this lineup needs. It's the problem of what happened the following 2 years, where his OPS plus went from 117 in 2023 to 96 and 94. And I get it. We talk about the injury. I understand that, but we have now seen 2 years of that. That's 2 years compared to the 1 year that he's got to prove to us 2023 is who he is and not these last 2 years. So the challenge is on Spencer Steer for this. And I'm intrigued to see how he's going to meet that challenge. But in 2023, he was doing a lot more moving around. So maybe that's the answer, moving him back into that super utility role, which then opens up the question of, is the guy on the roster right now? I think that you could say that Sal Stewart could play first base, but what is probably best for the team is that they go get themselves a first baseman. And it's most likely, when they look at the market, when they look at the trade market and the free agency, they can think that, okay, it's easier for us to acquire an impact bat at first base than in the outfield, which I hate that. We've talked about that for years and years and years, but I think that's why they're going there with this.
You and I have kicked around several times, both while recording and not, the idea that we like them having conversations and possibly bringing back Miguel Andújar.
Yes.
Now, let's say they do that. Do you bring him back and play him at first base, or do you bring him back and play him in left field?
Left field.
That changes this whole conversation then, right? Because if you bring him back to play him in left field, then Spencer Steer is once again at first base, right? And what do you do with Sal Stewart in any of these scenarios if you're not playing him at first base?
Third base.
And what do you do with Ke'Bryan Hayes?
Trade him.
Okay. I agree with all that. And I've told you that if you can get anything of greater value than you gave up to get Ke'Bryan Hayes, you do that deal this offseason, because I don't feel like he's the answer long term, especially with his bat being the way it is. So I agree with all that.
Yeah, I think that's how that should proceed. Now, how married to the idea of what a heck of a deadline steal that was is Nick Krall when it comes to Ke'Bryan Hayes, and how much does, his ego play into that? We don't know. We won't know until a move is made or not made or whatever. But I really think that he should look long and hard about a possible trade that he can make and see what he could get. for Key Brian Hayes. But I will say this, Steve. There were rumors about the Reds possibly adding a guy who could play first base, a guy who has said specifically he really wants to play for Terry Francona. We'll talk about that coming up next. If you can't watch us on YouTube, you can always listen to us on your favorite podcast app. We're on all of them, free and available everywhere you get your podcast. So check us out there today. And thank you, everybody, for making us part of your day. We really appreciate you listening to some Reds talk here in the offseason. We love talking Reds. We're with you all throughout the year, no matter what's going on. And this is one of those rumors that I think some people might get excited about. I think this is one of those rumors that there's another group of people that just really aren't that enthused. And unfortunately, as much as we love to be enthused about everything Cincinnati Reds, neither of us are that enthused about the fact that Justin Turner has expressed interest in playing for Terry Francona.
Yeah, I am really not enthused. Listen, Justin Turner is a name that everybody recognizes, and he had some really good years. He's put together a 17-year big league career. That's not nothing, Jeff. That's pretty darn good. That's a lot of longevity. It's impressive. His best days are behind him. This will be his age 41 season, Jeff. And I don't know that I want to go sign that guy to be the first baseman for this team. Last year for the Chicago Cubs, and this all stems from an interview, once again, with your guy, Gordon, who, of course, he's talking to former Cubs because that's where his heart lies. But Justin Turner in 80 games for the Cubs last year, while he did hit 18 home runs, had a slash line of 219, 288, 314, and an OPS plus of 75. That's not the answer. A 41-year-old dude that just put up those numbers is not the answer. I am unexcited about this. I do not want the Reds to pursue this. I do not want this to be a thing. I do not like green eggs and ham. I do not like I am.
Yeah, that's what I was feeling that. Because man, I would love to say that the Reds should look at giving him a career resurgence or something like that, or like one last swan song and he gets to play with Terry Francona and all this other stuff. Do you realize this, Steve? He's going to be 41 this year. Joey Votto's is 42. Like, should we just go sign him?
Stop. Don't you start that.
Just go bring back Joey Votto, have him play first base. Like, it's kind of what this feels like a little bit. Like, and
Joey's meditating somewhere.
He's living his best life. He's not looking to come back and play first base. But I say that to be, he's literally a year older than Justin Turner. So it's all well and good and stuff. And he's had a fine career, and I'm not poo-pooing anything about his past accomplishments. I just think that his present accomplishments will not be enough to satisfy the needs of this lineup. I just don't see that.
It's just not a good fit. It's just overall not a good fit.
But I do like, there's one little piece of this that I do like. And I would bet that he's not the only player that says, boy, I'd really like to play for Terry Francona. I think there's more out there. I think there's other guys out there that would like to come to Cincinnati specifically to play for Terry Francona as their manager. And I think that is an awesome sign and something that the Reds can sell, and probably a reason that Nick Krall talked to more people at the general manager meetings than I think we would give him credit for. Because one of the big criticisms about the Reds is that they never spend money, and then people like to take that criticism and spin it into, they never even call the big-time free agents. Well, Nick Krall can at least tell us that that's not the case this year. He's been talking with a lot of them. Don't know if that's going to go anywhere. But the whole point of the matter is the fact that there are people that want to come to Cincinnati because of Terry Francona. I think that that's a positive sign. I would just prefer if it were, some better bats moving forward.
Yeah, better than Justin Turner. I mean, again, he was good at a time. This is just not.
Went 11 years with an OPS plus over 100. 11 years straight.
It's just he's not that guy anymore, and that's not the answer when you're specifically talking about first base. And obviously you're not bringing this 41-year-old guy in to try and play outfield for you. No. So
he'll be first base DH, and that's it.
And that's pretty much it. So there's a lot of questions, Jeff, a lot of questions that haven't been answered. There's a lot of just looking around the league and wondering what the Reds are going to do, who they're going to be able to convinced to come here? What is the Francona factor? There's lots and lots of wild cards. This team has got so many questions that are just so hard to answer. Whether you're talking about who's going to rebound and who's going to not, whether you're talking about what's the real Ellie look like at shortstop, can Matt McClain do his thing? Is Spencer Steer's shoulder going to be right? The list of what ifs and hopes goes on and on and on. And, you know, I told you earlier this offseason, I really want to stop starting things with I hope. And we're clearly not there yet.
I think we're the franchise of that, unfortunately. I do want to end with this because you were talking about, like, you know, some guys who could get opportunities and things like that. There is there was a transaction update that went across the wire the other day that Tejay Antone had accepted free agency. He had decided to test the waters and see what's going on. And we were trying to work our way through this. Like, it's interesting. He's not going to get anything more than a minor league deal. He's coming back from his third Tommy John. And I don't think that this was an issue. Like, I saw some people on the Reds, like Reddit and things like that were just like, is this like a case of the Reds just telling him, they ain't going to happen? And so he's just going somewhere else. And so trying to cast blame on the Reds in this, I don't cast blame on the Reds. I think Tejay Antone's just looking for a team that he could actually pitch for next year.
Yeah, he clearly still wants to throw. If you follow him on Instagram, he is still posting videos of him throwing the ball. He's still doing things, and he just had twins, by the way. Congratulations to him on that. Him and his family are like, you know, they're dealing with 2 babies right now. So good luck with that. But he wants to pitch. He wants to play. I just don't see that he's going to get that opportunity with the Reds. Anybody else, you're right, that takes a flyer on him, it's going to be a minor league deal. I really want to see him make his way to a big league mound because I don't want it to end the way that it ended. I was kind of hoping that, you know, if he would make it back, he'd do a little bit. And however that went, if it went great and he stays healthy, good. The Reds got a decent pitcher out of it. And if he eventually had to just kind of hang it up because coming back from 3 Tommy Johns is hard, he really showed some talent in the broadcast booth last year. He really showed some talent. You know, there's a lane there for him with that. So I kind of hope he was going to stick around the organization. He might still yet. He is, as of right now, a free agent. We don't know what's going to happen with him. And then maybe when he's ready, the Reds do bring him back. I don't know. But I do wish him well. And I do want to see him make it back to a big league mound for somebody because I don't want it to end the way that it ended.
Let me ask you this, because it kind of feels like Tejay Antone deciding to become a free agent now makes me think that in his estimation, he will be ready for opening day. And coming back from a third Tommy John, I have no idea what the timeline looks like for that. I know he missed all of last season already. But at the same time, like, maybe his ambition scares the Reds a little bit. And they were probably thinking, yeah, we weren't thinking of you as an opening day plan. We were thinking of you like middle of the summer, maybe get you up here and see how you're looking type deal. But maybe he thinks
I'm not. Opening day feels like, I don't know, Jeff. I just coming back from the third one. He missed all of last season. It was towards the end of the year before that he got hurt. Usually is what, 18-month recovery. I don't know if being a third one extends that. It just, opening day doesn't feel right. And, you know, maybe this is the Reds. You know, I always say they need to do that thing, right? They need to protect the players from themselves. I don't know. Maybe this is that. I'm not sure. Because ultimately, if he says he's ready to go, you know, there are rules. They can't just keep him stashed on the disabled or the injury list and not deal with it. So I just keep coming back to whatever happens with Tejay Antone. I just want to see him pitch again somewhere.
I agree. Wherever that is, even if it's for Pittsburgh, God help us. But I would love to see him individually get back on the mound, throw some strikes, get a couple of strikeouts, you know, things like that. Want to see that happen for him. I hope it would be for the Reds, but it doesn't sound, it sounds like there's a disconnect there where Reds have expectations and he has expectations, and I don't think they match up.
Can I burn the last minute of the show with something not Reds related, but something that's boggling my mind right now in the world of, you mentioned the Pittsburgh Pirates. And did you see this thing with Paul Skenes where some unidentified teammate is like, oh no, Paul wants to go to the Yankees. He's told everybody he wants to go to the Yankees. He doesn't believe Pittsburgh's going to win anything. And he wants out before his contract's up. He wants to go to the Yankees. I'm like, this is, first of all, what a low down, dirty thing for a teammate.
Oh, well,
And
yeah,
then
for the
do
teammate
it,
to out him. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
then
Yeah.
to out him, and then to not put his like, but you can't identify me. You can't say who I am. Like, it's an anonymous
No,
teammate.
I was gonna say Tommy Pham, but he's a free agent now, so maybe it's
an anonymous teammate.
Sounds like a Tommy
This
Pham
is the
thing to do.
most wackadoodle thing I've seen in a long, long time. That somebody's dropping a dime on Paul Skenes about he wants to go to the Yankees, but not enough to put their name with it.
And normally this is like a John Morosi nothing tweet in the middle of January where he's just trying to drum up some sort of engagement on social media. But like you said, this was attributed to an anonymous teammate. This was not a national reporter saying a whole bunch of circular things. And then Paul Skenes had to address it and basically like dispel the rumors and things like that. And it's just like, wow, I understand wanting to get out of Pittsburgh. I mean, maybe, you know what? Maybe he saw Key Bryan get out of town and was like, man,
that's a great idea.
One day, I'm going to do that. But, and he just said it to the wrong teammate. And the other teammate was just like, yo,
reinforces
come here,
the fact that the Pittsburgh Pirates are a train wreck of an organization. And that is where we're going to go ahead and wrap it up today. Thanks, as always, for making Locked On Reds your first listen each and every day. Thanks for helping make the Locked On Podcast Network the #1 sports podcasting network around. We appreciate you so much. Now, go make your second listen of the day, the Locked On MLB feed with Sully. Sully is over there covering baseball with a national perspective, doing a great job with it. Very entertaining shows. You will not be disappointed that you checked him out. We will be back in your feeds tomorrow, continuing to gather up the news, the notes, the reports, and the rumors, and talking about them right here to keep you locked on Reds every single day.
Would you like my comprehensive Skyline chicken chili review?
First off, who is trying Skyline chicken chili? Who's ordering that? I'm not ordering that.
It's not bad, but it's just not as good as the beef.
No, why would you? I don't know.
You got to pair it with the habanero for sure.
You're not going to Skyline.
On there.
You don't go to Skyline for healthy choices. You're going to Skyline for Skyline.
It's not like white chicken chili, like shredded chicken chili. It's like the ground up chicken. They still make it look like regular Skyline, but it's not as good as the beef. Not as good.
It's always food. It's always food.